Like, I think one of the like the best examples of this is Cameron Kasky, because I've interacted with him, and maybe it's unfair only because I haven't interacted with other more bad faith actors, but he tweets a whole lot of stuff. He's one of the Parkland kids. He tweets a whole bunch of stuff out about getting vaccinated and vaccine mandates, and then when I reply in good faith, it's all just garbage nonsense games to him. You know, he tweets garbage nonsense. He doesn't respond. So he's really interested in inflaming tensions and causing strife. And then when you try and like, I politely DM'd the guy and been like, hey, you know, just wanted to flag this for you. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I'm not going to engage with you on this stuff. Right. Literally don't care. And then starts insulting and screen grabbing and insulting my followers. And I'm like, I thought this dude was more interested in actually accomplishing something, but you can see, I think one of the big problems we have with this country right now is there are young people on the left who are 100% demoralized. 100%.
Right.
So they grew up, these younger people grew up at a time with an economic collapse, parents who are probably struggling, that they themselves unable to find work, deciding to go to college, now have massive debt. Once again, we get into another crisis, and they're like, why should I care about the world? Let it burn for all I care. And that's what they do. They go on Twitter, they start Twitter fights, and they don't care about solutions. They just want pain. They want it to burn.
And the three of us have acknowledged that we like to troll, or that like I was a big internet troll from like 2009 to 2016, and I realized how much damage I was doing. Seemed subtle. I was getting a good laugh out of it, but I think it was really messing people up.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly there's something fun about trolling because you need irony, right? Fundamentalism lacks irony. That's their problem. Like the idea that you can the verboten thing, like comedy and the arts are important.
But
to knock these
I'm
people
not
down a peg.
I'm not talking about trolling. You know, look, being sarcastic, silly, and posting on Twitter in ways that are trying to make a point.
Oh no, this kid you're talking about is just a knucklehead. He doesn't. He's only
with hundreds
trying,
of thousands of followers.
He's only trying to make a point. He doesn't care about the cause.
He's not trying to make a point. No. He's not. That the point is, he's not trying to make a point. He's trying to start
make
fights
a scene, right?
To make, right. So the way I see it is, I mean, I guess I can understand it to a certain extent. You know, they grew up in a world that was on fire, and the system is corrupt and broken, and so they're just like, why should I bother with it? It's like there's nothing to look forward to when you're born into the decaying system, and so all they do is add to the fire.
Hope, yeah. I mean, what's the quote from the Matrix? Hope is the quintessential human emotion, both the source of our greatest strength and weakness, or something like that. I mean, certainly, if you imagine Mel Gibson in The Patriot with his weird haircut and his tri-corner hat coming over the hill, waving the flag, telling people to charge, who is that in American society right now? Who isn't just sitting around bitching and crying about the state of things? Who's saying, you know what, guys, we can actually do this? Like, the only reason any of these politicians have any power is because we allow that to happen. Yep. You're telling me that 535 people plus the president and his staff in Washington are overpowering 350 million people? That is physically impossible.
But people are, unfortunately, we're a nation of cowards. And
absolutely. Well, I don't know if we're a nation of cowards. I think.
No. What I mean, I'm not calling everyone in this country cowards.
No, I understand what you mean. I think
we have a large quantity of cowards in this country.
There's a George Bernard Shaw quote, and it's liberty means responsibility. That's why most men dread it. Yep. Right? And I think it's like when we do it for social reasons too. You walk by someone and they trip a little bit, and you divert your eyes because you don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to feel a collective shame because something just happened or whatever. And if you look at a piece of garbage on the ground and then you look back up and keep walking.
Shopping cart test. You know the shopping cart test?
Yeah. Where you leave it out, or who puts it away in the. You
can tell, like, I guess I'll be a little bit more grandiose. You can tell the strength of the community by how many shopping carts are strewn about the supermarket parking lot.
That's kind of like broken window theory, right? I mean, I guess in the inverse of that.
For those that aren't familiar, it's basically returning a shopping cart to the corral takes very little time, if any. It doesn't reward you with anything. It's just the right thing to do.
Correct.
You can also run and jump on it and ride it.
It's fun.
Oh, there you go.
But you'll notice you go to some places and there's shopping carts just piled up all over the place because people go to their cars, push it to the side and say, I don't care. It'd take you only 10 seconds to do the right thing. Same thing with littering. So
I hate, that's one of my pet peeves is when people litter.
Yep.
That is the, I agree with that principle, the shopping cart principle, and I agree with what you're saying right now just for that reason because I can feel it. Like, just do the right thing. When people cross in the middle of the street and don't go to the crosswalk that's 20 feet away. That makes me mad. You know what I mean? We set it all up for you to do it right, so you're safe, so the driver's safe, so everybody's safe, and you, because what? You felt like it. You just, not that I like. Look,
no scruples.
It's not about following the rules. It's about personal responsibility. Like, if we're gonna put so much weight on personal responsibility, my body, my choice, liberty, I want to do what I want to do, then do the right damn thing.
But I think we are a country of people who refuse to accept their responsibility. I'll put it that way. And that's true for the left and the right. You know, people have quoted Thomas Paine, "Let there be trouble in my day so that my children will know peace." And the number one thing I hear over and over again, and did for years, as to why people would not stand up against the tyranny was, I don't want to put my kids at risk.
Right.
So it's like 2 years ago when I said, they are coming to your workplace, they are going to come after you, they are going to subject you to this, and your kids, they're doing this, you know, the things they're going to do to your kids in the schools. You've got to speak up now before it's too late. And people would be like, look, I don't want to lose my job, I got to feed my kids. Okay, well, now we're at the point where we're seeing all these Twitter messages pop up where people are like, I lost my job because of the mandates.
Right,
I'm losing my job. You know, my kids, I'm trying to pull them out of school now because of the CRT stuff. Oh no, the board members, they're pushing CRT and they're voting against us. What do we do? And I'm like, well, I would say right now, start speaking up. And just keep in mind that if you would have spoken up 2 years ago and got all your friends together and was active about this, it may have never happened in the first place. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. I mean, look, we're at the precipice now. I mean, I don't know if I hate hyperbole. I hate how the word Nazi gets thrown around a lot. It's very irritating because there are still people alive who went through that stuff, and I guarantee you they would not associate what they went through with anything that's happening right now.
On both sides, there are survivors accusing the other side of being the Nazis.
Yeah. I mean, it's what are we talking about here, man? I mean, we can't have a reasonable conversation. People have grown to the point where they think that their opinion about facts are themselves the facts.
Right.
So we're not even speaking the same language anymore. You say racist, and you mean something that you mean somebody that genuinely hates other people. And then somebody else says racist, and they mean a power structure that's been created over the last 400 years.
But that's a good point.
We're not even talking about the same thing.
No. You know, that's
a great point.
We talked about that years ago, that the debate happening was words didn't mean the same thing.
Right.
And that we'd have to agree on common definitions. We're well past that point.
Oh, yeah, we're well
I don't know if we'll ever be truly past that.
No, we're past that
important
point.
to always define racism, you know, yell it out.
Ian.
It is, but
if you ask a progressive what racism is, they'll say it's a confluence between power and racial prejudice.
Okay, so in 2014, with all the Gamergate stuff happening, and then into 2015, as it escalated, 2016, we started seeing physical conflict with Trump. I was saying, based off of what tons of other YouTubers had already said, I'm like, clearly people aren't speaking the same language. When you're having this debate, the left is arguing racism means prejudice plus power, intersectionality, and the right is arguing it means discrimination on the basis of race.
Right.
The point we're at now in 2021 is that I can sit here and say, like, I'm pro-choice, and then have someone who's conservative say, I'm pro-life. And I'll say, okay, we understand what that means. Let's have a discussion on the ethics and morality of how this plays out in U.S. governance and what's the right thing to do. The left says, we will literally claim words mean something else just so that we can claim we won the debate.
Right.
It's not about not having the same definition. It's about them actively changing words on the fly on purpose. I'm sorry. It's about Merriam-Webster changing the definition of the word racism, changing the definition of the word anti-vax, specifically
changing what the word immunity means.
Just so that people can win a political argument. Yeah. They are actively trying to confuse you so that you don't understand what they're arguing.
Well,
they're not arguing for anything.
That's Brave New World, right? I mean, it's that and removing words.
Well, Brave New World was keeping people locked down by pleasures.
Not Brave New World. In 1984. They start removing words. So instead of good and bad, it's good and not good. But it's one word, ungood or whatever they said. Nonsense, right?
It's what is it? A brave new Fahrenheit 1984 for Vendetta.
I know, that's what we're living in. Yeah. But it's what role do you think the fact that there's absolutely no tolerance at this point for anybody to be wrong at any point about anything? You know what I mean? Like
you said you didn't like the word Nazi being thrown around,
right?
Because it's like, I think the challenge with the word Nazi is you say Nazi and then say, oh well, why is it like the Nazis? You say fascist or communist or whatever, and they tried. Those were words that were specific to ideologies in the early 1900s in Europe and things like that. And yes, they had prominence in other places, but we need new words to describe what the left is. Authoritarian, yes, but it's something specific. Authoritarian, identitarian, communist. They're communazis. The communazi fascists.
It's a little. I mean, because there's social programs sprinkled in there, but it's also very identity driven, and it's also very corporatist. So how do you define that?
Well, that's Nazism.
They took all of the tenets of authoritarianism and kind of combined them into one, and we've.
It is very. I argue with. I was arguing with someone about this. It is what the left is today is very, very, very close to Nazism. Not the same thing. But what was Hitler doing? He was trying to steal back land he claimed was rightfully German. Oh, now you've got the left arguing. We just had a terrorist convicted for trying to derail trains to seize the land back for the indigenous. They're identity based. Okay, they're not the same when it comes to Nazis and like Aryan. They're very anti-white, but they're still identity based, authoritarian. They use fascistic ethos like there is no truth but power. There's a lot of similarities. So I suppose the issue is they'll always try and deflect by claiming you're the Nazi when, I love it. You have the Gadsden flag. Don't tread on me. Literally saying, leave me alone. And, I'll leave you alone. Don't come near me.
That's what it meant, by the way.
And they have the flag of the the communist fist squeezing the snake saying, we will tread. I'm like, you're the fascists.
It's amazing to think that because the Nazi Party is a real political party. I think there's American Nazi Party, isn't there? There's like National Socialist American Party.
The National Socialist of America, the NSA, yeah, they were big in the 1930s, obviously. Or actually the 1920s. It was big on the East Coast. Yeah,
so these people, their hatred for that has turned them into that which they hate.
How often does that happen, though?
No. It's pretty common. It's written about.
I think my opinion on this is that the current iteration of the establishment left and many of their, more progressive and DSA type sycophants is just what happens when you get behavioral sink and cultural decay. What happens is...
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's just part of a system. This is a function of this
fire.
Kind of system.
I mean,
it's just a fire.
There's only one way to turn, right? I mean, you turn to tribalism, and it's like the Stanton paper, the stages of genocide, like how all that stuff progresses from let's see. I actually have it somewhere on here. Let me see.
God, this probably happened for tens of thousands of
so years. Just to go through some of these quickly. Classification is the first one. People divided into them and us. I mean, come on, man. Symbolization when combined with hatred. Symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of pariah groups like the Star, the Nazis used, or like maggot and all this stuff, or even
name calling.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that because I don't want to get you flagged here. But discrimination happens, which is the what is it? What are we?
People are already being fired.
We're referring to it now as the pandemic of the unvaccinated, even though there's no scientific basis for any of that nonsense, right?
It's Kamala Harris said in a tweet recently, I think it was today, we must protect the vaccinated, and I'm like, but they're vaccinated. Right, I don't understand what that means.
So if protect the vaccinated from whom? They're vaccinated, so they're not talking about protect them from COVID, clearly. So
I don't know what it means.
But I think she did mean COVID, which is silly.
If she did, then she doesn't know.
You can't assume that.
But what the heck else
that's the issue that you got to watch out for with con artists. Con artists use something called assumptive language. So they can say a thing to make you believe something without actually ever having lied.
But if you challenge them on it, they're like, well, I don't know. Right? I mean, they always backpedal when they do.
People don't.
The next one after that is dehumanization. Like, I don't know, deplorable. Right. That was just what an incredibly stupid thing to say. Actually, somebody, it wasn't Rolling Stone, maybe it was the Daily Beast. Somebody ran a story a week or two ago, and it said Hillary's biggest mistake was calling people deplorables, but was she right or something like that? Are you kidding me? Really? You're writing that right now? Are you trying to stoke conflict? I mean, obviously they are, but asking rhetorically. These things, these dystopian novels were not a guidebook. That was a warning.
We went through the stages multiple times, and I think we've in some instances we stop at 2. There's 10, right? 10 is erasure of the genocide. 9 is genocide. Right. When it comes to the vaccine stuff, it's starting to feel like it's getting crazy because you have them saying plague rats. You have them saying we must protect the vaccinated. It's very they're literally classifying. They're literally talking about quarantine and things like that. And so it seems like that is the dangerous territory. But ultimately, what I was saying about what the modern iteration of the left is right now, I'm calling it fire. What I mean by that is an ignition started at some point, and there was no one willing to take responsibility to do anything to stop the fire, put it out. So it's been growing and growing. The bigger it grows, the harder it is to put it out. Eventually it becomes impossible to put out, and then it sweeps over everything. It is a chaotic and destructive force with no goals. The best example, one example I love using is the word Womixen. Womxn. You ever hear this word?
No.
So there was an organization that said, we must respect all Womixen. And Womixen means the inclusive word for women. A bunch of feminists and leftists.
Oh, I see. It's like Latinx, but with X.
With an X,
oh,
right.
my God.
So they started getting attacked saying, why do you need a different word for women? Are you acting like trans women aren't women and need a different word to include them? Simultaneously, the word woman and Womixen were both the offensive and inoffensive versions.
Yeah.
It was not possible for you to use the right word.
Right.
No matter what you use, someone would come after you for violating the tenets, because there is no goal. There is no good. There is only we will destroy. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.